All right, let's dive into some of history's greatest puzzles. We're not just talking about old ruins here. These places are like cosmic cold cases, engineering puzzles, and huge existential questions, all left behind by our ancestors. They are riddles in stone that really make us question everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. And this quote just nails it. It's not always about finding the neat, tidy answer. Sometimes it's just about appreciating how huge and complex the questions really are. So let's jump in by looking at 3 of the biggest questions that archaeologists are still wrestling with. So first up, the big one, how? The Great Pyramid of Giza. I mean, we're talking about 2.3 million stone blocks. Some of them weigh up to 15 tons. For centuries, the question has been the same. How on earth did a civilization without modern cranes and machinery pull off something on this epic a scale? Next, you've got the question of why. Out in the deserts of Peru, you find the Nazca Lines, these massive figures carved into the ground that you can only really see from way up in the sky. The real head-scratcher isn't how they did it, but who were they doing it for? What was the point? And then there's maybe the most haunting question of all. What happened? Mohenjo-Daro was this incredible, meticulously planned city, 4,500 years ago. It had a street grid, advanced plumbing, and then the people who lived there just disappeared. So these 3 questions, how, why, and what happened, are going to be our guideposts as we explore this. Okay, so let's start with something you could almost touch, these incredible feats of construction that seem to just defy the laws of physics and what we thought was possible for ancient tech. How are these things even built? 1,700 tons. Just let that number sink in. That's the weight of a single carved stone at a site called Baalbek in Lebanon. It's one of the biggest monoliths ever cut from a quarry, and we honestly have no solid explanation for how they moved it. It completely shatters the boundaries of what we thought ancient people were capable of. And to put that into perspective for you, we're not just talking about a big rock. We're talking about a single piece of stone that weighs as much as 3 jumbo jets. 3. That's the absolutely mind-boggling scale of the problem we're trying to solve here. And check this out. Baalbek wasn't some kind of one-off fluke. This was happening all over the globe. In Peru, you have the Incas moving 120-ton stones to build their fortress at Sacsayhuamán. In England, the builders of Stonehenge were dragging 50-ton megaliths over 15 miles of terrain. This wasn't just an isolated project, it was a worldwide skill. So when you're faced with these seemingly impossible feats, you can't really blame ancient people for coming up with their own explanations. In Malta, the local legend says that giants must have built the Gigantia temples. And while, modern science talks about ramps and levers and rollers, the truth is, no single theory fully explains the incredible precision and sheer scale we see at all these sites. The gap between what we think they could do and what they actually did is still enormous. Okay, so if that covers the how, let's move on to the maybe even weirder question. Why? Why would you create something so massive that you can't even appreciate it from a normal human point of view? The key term we're talking about here is geoglyph, and it's basically what it sounds like, art on a planetary scale. These aren't just little drawings. They're huge messages carved into the earth itself, designed to be seen from way, way up high. The Nazca Lines are the ultimate example of this. For almost 100 years, we've been debating what they're for. Were they a giant astronomical calendar? Maybe ceremonial pathways for religious rituals? Or, and this is a big one, were they messages meant for gods looking down from the sky? The honest answer is, we just don't know for sure. And then the plot thickens. Right nearby, there are even older geoglyphs made by the Paracas culture. But here's the twist. These were carved onto hillsides, so they were actually visible to people on the ground. This suggests the whole purpose of these things might have changed over time, which only makes the mystery of this place even deeper. And this obsession with the cosmos, it wasn't just in South America. It was everywhere. You look at Stonehenge, it perfectly aligns with the solstices. Newgrange in Ireland is built to be lit up by the winter solstice sun. And the pyramids of Giza seem to be a mirror image of the stars in Orion's belt. It's like the entire ancient world was looking up at the sky. So all of this really leads you to a fundamental question. Were these giant projects just practical, like giant maps for people on the ground? Or was it something much deeper, much more spiritual? a way to try and connect their world with the heavens. Which brings us to our final and maybe most unsettling mystery. After building all these incredible wonders and mapping the stars, where did these amazing cultures go? Let's take Teotihuacan in Mexico. For centuries, this place was a genuine metropolis, one of the biggest cities in the world. And then, around 750 AD, it was just empty. When the Aztecs stumbled upon it 600 years later, it was a ghost town. They were so blown away they named it the place where gods were born, because they had no idea who could have possibly built it.
Or what about Mohenjo-Daro over in Pakistan? We're not talking about some primitive little settlement here. This was a masterpiece of urban planning, thriving way back at the same time as ancient Egypt. They had organized streets, public baths, a crazy advanced water system.
So why would a society that advanced just stop? It's this baffling pattern you see again and again in the ancient world. Great civilizations like the Maya at Tikal or the Harappans in the Indus Valley, they reach this amazing peak of sophistication and then they just fade out of the history books. So this chart pretty much shows our best guesses. Scientists will point to things like climate change, warfare, or disease, and yeah, those theories definitely fit in some cases. But for many others, like Teotihuacan, there's just no smoking gun, no clear evidence of what went wrong. That big unknown factors slice of the pie, it's still frustratingly and fascinatingly large. And nowhere is this feeling of sudden departure more obvious than on Easter Island. If you go to the quarries there, you can see their famous Moai statues just left half-finished, still connected to the bedrock. It's like the stonemasons literally dropped their tools in the middle of a cut and just walked away for good.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, these mysteries of how, why, and what happened, they aren't just historical trivia. They're part of this incredible, enduring quest to understand the full story of who we are.
In the end, these ancient sites are so much more than monuments. They're messages. Through their unbelievable ambition and sheer brainpower, our ancestors left us questions that have lasted for thousands of years. They're challenging us to be more curious, to dig a little deeper, and to accept that maybe some of the greatest stories are the ones where we don't have all the answers yet. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? Thousands of years from now, when someone is looking back at our world, what questions will our civilization have left for them? What's going to be our enduring mystery? Thanks for digging into this with us.